Right, Parliament's Standing Committee on Appropriations is not happy with progress at state-owned enterprises. It received a presentation from the National Treasury this week. The committee was given updates on issues at the Land Bank, Prasa, Eskom and the Post Office. It questioned why issues at these entities have not yet been resolved. Let's get the details now from Committee Chairperson Sifiso Buthelezi. Mr. Buthelezi, thank you for joining us here on eNCA. Yet again, we find ourselves having to speak to the likes of yourself in terms of allegations of corruption, etc., at state-owned entities.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning to your viewers. Yes, we had a presentation from National Treasury, especially around expenditure on government in general and on the SOs and the SOCs. I'll tell you why it's important that we look at expenditure there. The SOCs mainly are responsible for infrastructure. And as the government, we have identified infrastructure as an area which is going to jumpstart the economy of this country, as an area where we are going to be able to get more jobs, employment opportunities, but most importantly, to deliver services to our people. So that's why it becomes an interest to Parliament through the Standing Committee on Appropriation in this instance. So we then there were areas that were not happy about, especially around under expenditure in CAPEX.
Now, looking at, the mentions of your Denal, your Eskom, those state-owned enterprises have actually gone through quite a lot in the past few years. Denal also at some point not being able to even pay its employees. I believe that the city of Tshwane at some point, if I'm not mistaken, did try and go there during the course of last week or this week. I might be wrong in terms of the company to, try and switch off their electricity because of owing. So far, what has the Standing Committee found? Have you found anything yet?
No, let me say the main thing which came out from Eskom, if I have to speak about Eskom. You remember that as government, we have recapitalized Eskom to the tune of about 136.7 billion rand. That was aimed at trying to get Eskom back to its feet, so that it is able to deliver on electricity, which is so important to the economy and to the people of this country. 136.7 billion rand. The main thing that we got from National Treasury was that they were not having enough revenue, and the main reason that was being cited was that NERSA has not given the necessary increments. And our take is, we know there's that legal process taking place. But what we impressed upon National Treasury is that this recapitalization, people should know that it comes from the same taxpayers. So now Eskom can't be dependent on very high tariffs to sustain itself. We don't think that's fair, because it's double jeopardy for the people of South Africa. Because it's there more recapitalized. Government has got no money of its own. This is taxpayers' money. Again, to want exponential increases in tariffs. I think that's the main point that we raised about Eskom. But let me come one area that again we registered our displeasure. It's the question of the land bank. You see, as you know, agriculture is very important for food security. But again, it's one area that we were very clear that if our economy is to be sustainable, the land bank should be able to assist both commercial and emerging farmers. To that end, Parliament appropriated 7 billion rand through MTF so that they are able to deal with their challenges, especially around negotiations with their creditors. What again we are really not happy about is that not a cent of that 7 billion rand has been spent or has gone towards dealing with what we are trying to do. And the reason that we were giving was that they're still negotiating with the creditors. And that's about one line. We're going to another budget. This 7 billion rand was announced by the former Minister Tito Mboweni in the budget last year. Now we're going to another budget and nothing has been done with that money. So the impact of that in the economy, the impact of that on the farmers, both commercial and emerging farmers, the impact on employment opportunities is just great. It's very big. So yeah, so those are the things that we're dealing with.
And also,
we don't think.
But also, I think there's some concern you also raised in terms of what's happening at state-owned enterprise, the passenger rail agency, Prasa, finding that they are not using their entire budget. They are underspending. But we've all seen the state of our public transport, for instance. So are you, going to speak to the Minister of Transport, perhaps, for action to be taken on that, for that to stop? Because I wouldn't understand why they're not using money to improve our infrastructure.
On CapEx at Prasa, there is about 14.3 billion rand that was allocated for CapEx, but they've only used about 6.5 billion rand, right? So with the state in which a passenger rail is, the state of our infrastructure and so on, it's also not fair, first and foremost, to the people who depend on that mode of transport, which is the poorest of the poor, the workers of our country. Let me tell you, when Prasa is optimally operating, you get a monthly ticket of less than 300 rands, right? But now when Prasa is not there, people find themselves using up to 2,000 rand per month for transport. And that's about, if you take the minimum wage, that would be about 2/3 of minimum wage of 3,000 rand, about 2/3 of their salaries. So it's so important that when Parliament gives that money, it's because Parliament sees the importance of this mode of transport, hence the allocation of money. And if that money is not used, let alone the opportunity cost of that money, which means that the money could have been used somewhere, but it's not being used. Again, we're in constant communication with the department and with the portfolio committee on transport, that whatever chokes are there in the system, can they be unblocked so that we are able to again get the passenger rail agency to its former glory.
Yeah. Thank you so much for speaking to us, and good luck with your work there. Sifiso Buthelezi from the Standing Committee on Appropriation.